It was our 5th wedding anniversary, a night I had planned carefully. The restaurant was glowing with soft lights, the air filled with the quiet hum of laughter and music. I had booked the entire place for us and her closest friends because she loved being surrounded by people she cared about. When the waiter brought out the champagne, I was expecting a heartfelt toast, something about love or togetherness. But instead, my wife stood up, raised her glass high, and said, "Here's to new rules for my husband." Everyone laughed. Her friends clinked glasses and shouted, "Cheers," as if it were some inside joke I wasn't part of. I smiled awkwardly, my heart sinking a little. "New rules?" I asked, half joking, half curious. She winked and said, "You'll find out soon." The laughter around the table grew louder. I forced a laugh, but deep inside, I felt uneasy. The night went on with chatter and jokes, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Every time I looked at her, she was either whispering to her friends or smirking in my direction. I tried to convince myself it was harmless fun. After all, it was our anniversary. Why ruin it over a comment? When we got home, I asked her what the new rules meant. She brushed it off with a chuckle. "Relax, it was just a joke. You take everything too seriously." But her tone wasn't playful. It felt like she wanted to provoke me, test how much I'd tolerate. I didn't argue. I simply nodded and went to bed. Over the next few days, I noticed changes. She started staying out later than usual, claiming work dinners or girls' nights. Her phone became a permanent extension of her hand, always turned face down. When I'd ask about it, she'd roll her eyes and say, "You're not one of those paranoid husbands, are you?" One evening, her best friend accidentally let something slip. While talking to me, she mentioned a new guy at my wife's office who everyone thought was cute. She froze after saying it, quickly changing the subject, but I caught it. That night, my wife came home late again, smelling faintly of a cologne that wasn't mine. The next morning, I decided to follow her. I felt ashamed for even thinking that way, but the truth was gnawing at me. She left the house dressed unusually well for a supposed meeting. I followed her car at a distance until she parked outside a small cafe. Minutes later, a man joined her, tall, confident, with an easy smile. They talked, laughed, and for a moment, she reached across the table, touching his hand. My stomach twisted. I didn't confront her immediately. I wanted to see how long she would play this game. Over the next week, I gathered quiet evidence, photos, receipts, even a few screenshots from shared phone bills showing late-night calls. The same man's number kept appearing. My hands would shake whenever I looked at them. Finally, I decided to play along with her new rules. On Friday night, she invited her friends over again for drinks. The same group that laughed at the restaurant. I welcomed them warmly, smiling more than I had in weeks. My wife seemed pleased, unaware of what was coming. When everyone was seated, I stood up and raised my glass. "I'd like to make a toast," I said calmly. The room went silent, curious. My wife smiled, expecting something romantic. I looked straight into her eyes and said, "Here's to new rules for my wife, like honesty, loyalty, and respect." A few uneasy laughs followed, but I continued. Because when someone forgets those, the marriage stops being a partnership and becomes a performance. I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. The recording of her laughing and calling the other man my favorite distraction echoed through the room. Her friends went quiet. Her smile vanished. She stood frozen, her face pale. "You recorded me," she whispered. I nodded. "You made the rules. I'm just following them." The silence that followed was heavier than any argument we'd ever had. One by one, her friends excused themselves and left. She stood there trembling, realizing the joke had turned against her. That night, she packed a small bag and left without saying a word. I didn't stop her. There was nothing left to say. The next morning, the house was painfully quiet. Her laughter, her perfume, her presence, all gone. A week later, I received a message from her, "I'm sorry. I went too far." I didn't reply. Some apologies come too late, especially when trust is already buried beneath betrayal. Now, whenever I see a champagne glass raised in a toast, I can't help but remember that night, the laughter, the words, and how a single sentence revealed the cracks in a marriage that looked perfect from the outside.